Chosen. 1. Something has shifted in the unseen, and the moment your spirit has been sensing is no longer approaching it, has arrived. Anointed one. This is not just another message passing through your day. This is a divine interruption, a sacred alignment where heaven has drawn a line between what was and what is now unfolding in your life. You did not click on this by accident. This moment was appointed long ago, written before your struggles, before your waiting, before the nights you questioned if anything was truly changing. There were seasons where it felt like nothing was moving, where silence surrounded you and justice seemed delayed. But as it is spoken in Ecclesiastes chapter 3 verse 1, there is a time for every purpose under heaven, and the time that once felt hidden has now stepped into manifestation. Chosen one. What you endured was not delay, it was preparation. What you lost was not punishment, it was positioning. Even now, unseen doors are aligning, and what heaven has ordained over your life is beginning to surface in ways no human hand could orchestrate. Stay close, because what is about to be revealed will show you why everything had to happen exactly as it did. Chosen one. There is something you are beginning to notice within yourself, even if you cannot fully explain it. Yet, a quiet shift, a subtle awareness that something is no longer the same. The weight you once carried in your chest does not press on you the way it used to, and yet the answers you have been waiting for have not fully appeared. This is the place where many become confused, because outwardly it looks like nothing has changed, but inwardly everything is being rearranged. And I need you to understand this clearly, anointed one. You are no longer standing in the same season you thought you were. There were moments not long ago when your mind replayed every misunderstanding, every false word spoken against you, every situation where you felt unseen or misjudged. You may have even questioned whether truth would ever rise on your behalf. I have walked through that place myself, where silence feels like abandonment and delay feels like denial, where you wonder if staying quiet means losing. But what you could not see then, and what is being revealed to you now, is that silence was never emptiness. It was strategy. It was the kind of stillness where heaven begins to move in ways that cannot be interfered with. You thought you were being overlooked, but you were actually being covered. You thought doors were closing against you, but they were being sealed for your protection. There were conversations you were not invited into because they were not aligned with your future. There were people who walked away not because you failed them, but because they could not go where you are being taken. And while you were trying to make sense of loss, heaven was preserving your direction. Chosen one. Your identity was never meant to be built on how well others understand you. That is why the validation you were waiting for did not come. Not because you were wrong, but because you are being anchored in something deeper than approval. There is a covenant over your life that cannot be shaken by opinion, cannot be rewritten by rumor, cannot be diminished by misunderstanding. What people see on the surface has never been the full story. There is a hidden place within you that heaven has been shaping quietly, a place where your character, your discernment, and your resilience have been refined. Think about the moments when you wanted to defend yourself, when you felt the urge to explain everything, to correct every false narrative, to make people see your side. And yet, something held you back, something deeper than fear, something that whispered to you to wait. That restraint was not weakness. That was alignment. Because when you rush to take control of your own vindication, you step outside of a process that is far greater than your immediate comfort. There is a pattern you are beginning to recognize now. The more you tried to force clarity, the more confusion increased. The more you tried to prove yourself, the more resistance you faced. But when you stepped back, even reluctantly, even in frustration, something else began to happen. A different kind of peace started to form, not because everything was resolved, but because something within you stopped needing immediate resolution. That is where the shift began. Anointed One. There is a reason your story feels familiar to those ancient accounts you have heard. The one who was misunderstood before being elevated, the one who was hidden before being revealed, the one who was tested before being entrusted. This is not coincidence. This is pattern. And as it is spoken in Habakkuk chapter 2 verse 3, the vision awaits its appointed time. Though it lingers, it will surely come and will not delay. You are standing inside that appointed time now, even if the full picture has not yet unfolded. There is something else you must understand, and this may challenge you at first. Not everything that opposed you was sent to destroy you. Some of it was allowed to shape you. Betrayal did not come to end your story. It came to sharpen your discernment. Loss did not come to empty you. It came to realign what truly matters. The discomfort you felt was not punishment. It was preparation. And now, because you endured it, something within you has changed permanently. You no longer react the same way. You no longer chase the same validation. You no longer fear the same outcomes. There is a steadiness growing inside you, a quiet authority that does not need to be announced, and this is where many will begin to feel uncomfortable around you, not because you have done anything wrong, but because the light within you is becoming harder to ignore. You may notice it in subtle ways, in the shift of conversations when you enter a room, in the way certain people withdraw without explanation, in the tension that seems to arise even when you remain calm. Do not misinterpret this. Light does not argue with darkness, it simply reveals it. And not everyone is ready for that revelation. So when you begin to see these reactions, do not shrink yourself to make others comfortable. Do not dim what has been placed within you just to maintain peace that was never real to begin with. You were not created to blend into spaces that cannot contain your calling. At the same time, you are being taught something equally important: how to carry this light without becoming hardened, how to walk in truth without becoming defensive, how to remain grounded even when misunderstood. This balance is not accidental. It is being developed in you so that when the next level of responsibility is placed in your hands, you will not be moved by pressure or swayed by perception. Because where you are going, Anointed One, requires more than talent. It requires maturity. And here is the deeper truth that is beginning to unfold. What you thought was delay was actually timing. What you thought was loss was actually separation. What you thought was silence was actually alignment. Everything has been leading to this exact moment. But there is still one layer you have not fully stepped into, yet one barrier that remains unseen, and it is not outside of you, it is within you, chosen. That unseen barrier within you is more subtle than anything that has opposed you from the outside, because it does not shout, it whispers, it does not attack, it lingers quietly in the background of your thoughts, shaping how you interpret what is happening around you. It is the residue of everything you have walked through, the lingering question of whether things will truly change this time, whether what is unfolding now will last or fade like moments before. And even as doors begin to align, even as a new sense of direction starts forming, there is still a part of you that hesitates, not because you lack faith, but because you have learned to protect yourself from disappointment. Anointed One. This is the final refinement before alignment becomes manifestation. This is where many pause without realizing it, not because heaven has stopped moving, but because they are still carrying internal agreements formed in past seasons. You may not say it out loud, but it reveals itself in small ways, in how you hold back your expectation, in how you prepare for loss, even when something good begins to appear, in how you guard your heart, not only from harm, but also from fully stepping into what is being offered to you now. This is not weakness, it is the echo of survival, but you were not brought this far to remain in survival. There comes a moment where you must recognize that what protected you before can no longer define how you move forward. You're no longer in the same environment that required you to shrink, to wait, to endure without clarity. You're standing at the edge of something that requires openness, not guardedness, trust, not hesitation. And I say this as one who has stood in that exact tension where the mind remembers every delay, but the spirit begins to sense something new rising. It is uncomfortable because it requires you to release control, not in circumstances, but in expectation. You may have noticed recently that certain opportunities, thoughts, or even connections have begun to surface again, but they feel different this time. There is less urgency, less fear attached, and yet more weight, more meaning. That is because you are no longer approaching life from the same place. You're not reacting, you are aligning. And when alignment begins, it does not rush, it settles. It does not force, it unfolds. This is why what is happening now may feel unfamiliar. You have spent so long navigating resistance that peace can feel almost uncertain at first. Chosen one. You are being repositioned internally so that what is about to come into your life will not overwhelm you or be mishandled by old patterns. There is a reason certain doors did not open before. There is a reason certain connections could not be sustained. It was not because they were wrong in essence, but because you were still being prepared in capacity. Now that capacity has expanded not just in your strength, but in your awareness, your discernment, your ability to see beyond surface appearances. You are beginning to notice things you once overlooked. You are beginning to sense intentions without needing words to confirm them. You are beginning to choose peace over reaction, clarity over confusion. These are not small changes. These are the foundations of the next level you are stepping into. And this is why the internal barrier must be addressed now, because what is coming cannot coexist with the mindset that was formed in your previous season. There is also something else happening that you must not ignore. As you step into this alignment, there will be a subtle pressure to revert, to go back to familiar patterns, to respond the way you used to when faced with uncertainty or misunderstanding. It may come through certain people reappearing through old emotions, resurfacing through situations that look similar to what you have already overcome. But look closely. Anointed one. They are not the same. They are not here to trap you. They are here to reveal whether you have truly shifted. This is where your authority begins to show, not in what you say, but in what you no longer entertain. Not in how loudly you respond, but in what you choose to remain silent about. Not in how you prove yourself, but in how you no longer feel the need to. That is the evidence of transformation, and that is the place where heaven can trust you with what has been prepared. Because what is coming is not just about restoration, it is about responsibility. It is about being placed in a position where your decisions carry weight, where your presence influences more than just your immediate environment. This is why the process has been so detailed, so intentional, so exact. Nothing you have experienced has been random. Every delay, every silence, every closed door has been part of a larger alignment that is now reaching its appointed moment. And yet before this fully unfolds, there is still one thing that must be released completely, something deeper than fear, deeper than doubt, something that has been quietly holding your heart in a place of partial surrender. Chosen. 1. What remains within you is not loud, it is not obvious, but it has shaped more of your journey than you realize, and it is the quiet attachment to control over how justice should unfold, how restoration should look, and how your story should be corrected in the eyes of others. You may have already surrendered many things, you have released certain people, you have accepted certain endings, but there is still a deeper layer where your heart holds on to the idea that things must be made right, in a way you can recognize, in a way that feels balanced according to what you experienced. This is where the final surrender begins to take form, not as loss, but as liberation. Because as long as your peace is tied to how others respond, how truth is revealed, or how quickly circumstances shift, your heart remains connected to the very system you have been called out of. You were never meant to live waiting for validation to confirm your worth, or for public clarity to restore your identity. What has been established over your life was never dependent on agreement from the world. It was written from a place that cannot be altered by opinion, cannot be delayed by misunderstanding, and cannot be erased by silence. Anointed One. This is the shift that separates waiting from becoming. There is a difference between hoping things will change and stepping into the knowing that something has already been set in motion beyond your control. And I have learned this in my own journey. There comes a point where you stop asking when everything will be fixed, and you begin to recognize that something within you has already been settled. That internal settlement changes how you move, how you speak, how you respond. It removes the urgency to prove and replaces it with a quiet confidence that does not depend on outcomes. You may notice now that certain questions no longer hold the same weight they once did. The need to explain yourself begins to fade. The desire to correct every misunderstanding begins to lose its urgency. And in its place, something far more powerful begins to rise, a steadiness that cannot be shaken by what others believe or say. This is not indifference. This is alignment. It is the result of releasing the burden that was never yours to carry in the first place. Because justice, true justice, does not operate on human timing or human methods. It unfolds in a way that aligns not only circumstances, but also hearts, environments, and outcomes in ways that cannot be forced or imitated. As it is spoken in Psalm chapter 37, verse 5, "Commit your way to the Lord, trust in Him, and He will act." This is not passive waiting. This is active trust. It is the willingness to step forward without needing to control how everything will resolve. There is something sacred about the moment when you no longer need your name to be cleared in order to feel at peace, when you no longer need acknowledgement to confirm your truth. That is when you become untouchable in a way that cannot be understood from the outside. Because your identity is no longer anchored in perception, it is anchored in something eternal. And here is the paradox. The moment you release the need for immediate vindication is often the moment when things begin to shift in ways you did not expect. Not because you forced it, but because you moved out of the way. You allowed what has already been arranged to begin unfolding without interference. There are conversations happening that you're not aware of. There are decisions being made that will affect your path. There are alignments forming that you could not have orchestrated even if you tried. Chosen One. What you thought was still delayed is already moving. What you thought was unresolved is already being positioned. But it required you to step into this place of surrender first, because what is coming cannot be carried by a heart still bound to the past. It requires freedom, not just from pain, but from the need to measure outcomes based on past experiences. You are also being invited into something deeper than release. You are being invited into forgiveness, not as an idea, but as a lived reality. and I understand how difficult this can feel, especially when the wounds were real, when the loss was significant, when the misunderstanding affected your path in ways that seemed unfair. But forgiveness is not about rewriting what happened. It is about removing its authority over who you are becoming. There is a difference between remembering something and being shaped by it. Forgiveness allows you to remember without being bound. It allows you to move forward without carrying the weight of what was done. It creates space within you for something new to take root. Without that space, even the greatest opportunities can feel heavy because they are being received through a heart that is still holding on to what was. And, chosen one, if this message is reaching you at the right moment, if you feel this shift happening within your spirit, consider supporting this mission so these words can continue to reach others who are still in the place you have just come through, because your support helps carry this light further than you can see. Anointed One. This is why this moment is so critical. You are not just stepping into a new external season, you are stepping into a new internal state. One where your decisions are no longer influenced by past wounds, where your reactions are no longer driven by old patterns, where your vision is no longer limited by previous outcomes. And as this shift completes within you, something else begins to activate, something that has been waiting beneath the surface, something connected to your purpose, your assignment, and the level of impact you are about to step into. Chosen One. What is beginning to activate within you now is not something new. It is something that has always been there, but it could not fully emerge until everything that no longer belonged to your future was released from your grip. This is the part of your journey where purpose is no longer an abstract idea. It becomes a living force moving through your decisions, your presence, and the way you carry yourself in situations that once unsettled you. You may not yet see the full expression of it, but you can feel the shift, a growing sense that you are no longer reacting to life. You are stepping into alignment with something that was prepared long before you understood it. Anointed One. There is a weight to this moment that goes beyond personal restoration. What is unfolding is connected to your assignment, to the way your life will influence others, to the kind of impact that cannot be measured by immediate results. And this is why everything had to be refined within you first. Because what is being placed in your hands is not meant to be held loosely or used carelessly. It carries responsibility, and that responsibility requires a level of clarity that only comes through testing, through waiting, through learning how to remain steady when everything around you felt uncertain. You may have once imagined that the breakthrough would feel loud, dramatic, undeniable in an outward way. But what you are experiencing now is different. It is quieter, more grounded, more internal. It is the kind of shift that changes how you see everything before it changes what you see. This is how true alignment begins. It does not announce itself with noise. It settles into you like certainty. And from that place, your actions begin to reflect a different kind of authority, one that does not need validation to be real. There are moments now where you will notice that situations that once triggered you no longer hold the same power. Conversations that would have pulled you into defense now pass without reaction. Environments that once drained you no longer have access to your peace. This is not because those things have changed, it is because you have. And this internal shift is the evidence that you are ready for what is coming next. Because what is approaching, Chosen One, is not just an opportunity, it is a placement. It is a positioning that aligns with the preparation you have undergone. It may come in the form of a door, opening a connection, forming an idea, gaining momentum, or a path becoming clear where there was once confusion. But it will carry a different weight than anything you have experienced before. It will not feel forced. It will not require you to compromise what has been built within you. It will align with the peace you now carry. And here is what you must understand as this begins to unfold. Not every door that opens is meant to be walked through, but the ones that are aligned with your assignment will not create internal conflict. They will stretch you, but they will not pull you out of alignment. This is where your discernment becomes essential. You're no longer choosing based on urgency or pressure. You're choosing based on resonance, on clarity, on a knowing that does not need to be explained. You may also notice that certain people begin to respond to you differently. Some will be drawn to the steadiness you carry, others may feel unsettled by it. Do not take either response personally. Your role is not to adjust your alignment to match others. It is to remain anchored in what has been established within you. The right connections will recognize this without needing explanation. The wrong ones will fade without requiring confrontation. Anointed one, this is where your understanding of provision must deepen. What is coming into your life is not just for you, it is meant to flow through you. The resources, the opportunities, the influence, they are all connected to a larger purpose. This is why you had to learn restraint, why you had to understand timing, why you had to be refined in how you handle both loss and increase. Because what is being entrusted to you must be stewarded, not controlled. There is a difference between receiving and carrying. Receiving is a moment, carrying is a responsibility, and you are being prepared for both. The mindset you now hold will determine how what you receive is sustained. If you approach it from fear, you will try to hold on to it tightly. If you approach it from alignment, you will allow it to flow in the way it was intended. This is also where you begin to see clearly why certain things did not work before. Not because they were wrong in themselves, but because they were not aligned with the level you are now stepping into. What once felt like missed opportunities were actually misalignments that would have limited what is now possible for you. And as this clarity settles within you, there is a new kind of confidence that begins to form. Not loud, not forced, but steady. It is the confidence of someone who no longer needs to rush, who no longer needs to prove, who no longer fears being overlooked. Because you now understand that what is meant for you cannot pass you by. Yet even as this new level begins to take shape, there is still one final transition that must occur, one that will determine not just what you receive, but how fully you step into it. Chosen one. The final transition is not about what is coming toward you. It is about how fully you are willing to step into it without shrinking, without second-guessing, and without returning to the version of yourself that once waited for permission to move forward. This is where many stand at the threshold yet hesitate, not because the path is unclear, but because stepping into it requires them to release the last fragments of who they used to be. And those fragments often feel familiar, even comfortable, because they were formed in seasons where caution was necessary. Anointed one, you are no longer in that season. The version of you that had to endure without clarity, that had to survive without support, that had to remain hidden while everything was being prepared, that version carried you to this point, but it cannot carry you into what is next. There is a difference between honoring what you have been through and continuing to live as if you are still there. And this is the moment where that distinction becomes clear. You may notice it in the way you approach decisions now. There is a subtle invitation to step forward with confidence, yet an old instinct may still suggest waiting, observing, holding back just a little longer. But what you must understand is that waiting is no longer your instruction. Alignment is. The timing you were once required to trust has now begun to reveal itself, and your role is shifting from preparation into participation. This is where faith becomes movement. You are no longer being asked to simply believe that something will happen. You are being invited to walk as though it already has. And that may feel unfamiliar at first because it requires you to act without needing external confirmation. It requires you to trust what has been established within you more than what is visible around you. This is the same kind of shift that has marked every moment of true transition, where the internal certainty comes before the external manifestation. There is also a deeper layer of responsibility that comes with this step, because when you move forward from this place, you're not just moving for yourself. You're moving as someone who carries influence, whether you realize it fully or not. Your choices will begin to open pathways, not only for you, but for others who are connected to your journey in ways you may not yet see. This is why hesitation must be released. Not recklessly, not without discernment, but without fear. Because fear at this stage does not protect you, it limits you. And you have already been prepared beyond what you once believed possible. The evidence of that preparation is not in what you have achieved outwardly, but in who you have become inwardly. The patience you developed, the clarity you gained, the strength you now carry. These are the true indicators that you are ready. You may also begin to notice that as you step forward, things start aligning with a kind of precision that you could not have orchestrated before. Conversations happen at the right moment. Opportunities appear without force. Resources begin to meet you where you are. This is not coincidence. This is alignment meeting action. This is what happens when preparation and timing converge. And yet, even in this unfolding, you must remain grounded in what has brought you here, because it will be tempting to measure progress by external signs, to look for constant confirmation that you are on the right path. But the deeper truth is this: the more aligned you become, the less you will need external validation to continue. You will begin to recognize that the same presence that guided you through silence is the same presence guiding you through movement, a chosen one. This is where your understanding of trust deepens even further. Not trust that something will eventually work out, but trust that what is already unfolding cannot be undone. As it is spoken in Isaiah chapter 60 verse 1, "Arise, shine, for your light has come, and the glory of the Lord rises upon you." This is not a future statement. This is a present reality. You are not waiting for your moment. You are standing in it. And yet there is one final realization that will bring everything together. One understanding that will shift how you see not only what is happening now, but everything that has led you here. Chosen one. The final realization is this: nothing in your life was ever out of place. Not the delays, not the betrayals, not the silence, not even the moments you thought were wasted. What felt like fragments scattered across different seasons were never disconnected events. They were pieces being positioned with precision, forming a structure that could only be understood once you reached this point. And now that you are here, you are beginning to see that what once felt like disruption was actually design. Anointed One. This is where your perspective shifts completely. You are no longer looking back with questions, you're looking back with clarity. The moments that once confused you now begin to make sense. The doors that closed were not losses, they were redirections. The people who left were not taken from you, they were removed from the path you are now walking. Even the silence you endured was not absence, it was protection, it was alignment happening beneath the surface where no interference could reach it. This understanding changes how you carry yourself moving forward. You are no longer trying to figure everything out before you take a step. You are no longer waiting for every answer before you trust the direction. Instead, you move with a quiet certainty, not because you see everything clearly, but because you know the one who has been guiding every step has never failed you. There is also a peace that settles within you at this stage, a kind of stillness that does not depend on circumstances being perfect. It is the peace of someone who no longer needs to control outcomes in order to feel secure. And this peace becomes your foundation as you step into what has been prepared. It allows you to receive without fear, to act without hesitation, to remain steady even when new challenges arise. Because there will still be moments that test you, not to push you back, but to confirm who you have become. Situations may arise that look familiar, but you will not respond the same way. Where you once reacted, you now discern. Where you once rushed, you now remain steady. Where you once sought approval, you now remain anchored. This is how you know the transformation is complete. Chosen one. What is now unfolding in your life is not temporary. It is not a fleeting moment that will pass as quickly as it arrived. It is a shift into a new level of living, one where your actions are aligned with purpose, where your resources are aligned with responsibility, and where your influence is aligned with something greater than yourself. What you're stepping into is not just increase, it is stewardship. It is the ability to carry what has been entrusted to you in a way that reflects the process you've gone through. You will begin to see opportunities not as chances to prove yourself, but as platforms to express what has already been established within you. You will begin to see provision not as something you must chase, but as something that meets you as you move in alignment. And this is where your life begins to reflect a different kind of rhythm, one that is not driven by pressure, but by purpose. There is also a restoration that will take place not always in the way you once imagined, but in a way that is deeper and more complete. Certain things will be returned not necessarily in their original form, but in a form that aligns with who you are now. Other things will be replaced entirely because what is coming is greater than what was lost. As it is spoken in Joel chapter 2 verse 25, there is a restoration that reaches even into the years that seemed consumed, bringing forth fruit where you once saw emptiness. And as this restoration unfolds, you will notice something unexpected. You will no longer feel the need to revisit what has already been left behind. The desire to prove, to explain, to revisit old narratives will fade, not because they were insignificant, but because they no longer hold relevance to the path you are walking now. You have moved beyond them, not by force, but by growth. Anointed one. This is the moment that was appointed long ago, not because everything around you has suddenly become perfect, but because everything within you has been aligned to receive what has been prepared. The timing was never about external conditions, it was about internal readiness. And now that readiness has been established, what has been written over your life begins to unfold in a way that cannot be stopped, altered, or reversed. So move forward without hesitation. Walk with the awareness that you are no longer waiting for your life to begin. You are living in the very moment that was prepared for you. Let your decisions reflect the clarity you now carry. Let your actions reflect the peace you now hold. Let your presence reflect the transformation that has taken place within you. Because from this point on, chosen one, you are no longer stepping toward what was promised. You are walking inside it. Chosen one. You are not leaving this moment the same way you entered it. Something has already settled within your spirit, something quiet yet undeniable, a knowing that you are no longer waiting for your time, you are standing inside it. Anointed one, even now, while you cannot yet see every detail, alignment is taking place beyond your sight. Paths are being cleared, hearts are being softened, and what once felt delayed is being positioned with precision. This is your Kairos moment, a time heaven prepared long before you understood the journey. May peace rest upon your mind, may clarity guide your steps, and may your heart remain steady as what has been written over your life begins to unfold. Walk forward without fear, knowing that what is meant for you cannot be intercepted, delayed, or taken away. If this word has resonated within you, seal it in faith by writing Amen or 777 in the comments as a declaration that you receive what is being released in this moment. And if you feel led, stay connected by subscribing so you do not miss the messages meant for your path. And consider supporting this mission so these words of faith and guidance can continue reaching those who are still searching. Go forward in peace, chosen one. What has already begun will be completed.